Alright, and welcome everyone to possibly the most exciting post of the year so far. It is the only post of the year so far, but that is besides the point. It is incredibly exciting, and it is about death costs. So, death costs are being changed, and we're going to find out why they're being changed, how they're being changed, and how lovely everything is going to be. So, they did some stuff, they did some data gathering, they did some stats through the free death events, among other things they've done, and they've got some data, and they've essentially looked at what's going on. So why are things confusing? Why are people not liking death costs? Like, are they too expensive? Like, where's the gold going? Where's the gold coming from? Stuff like that. So they're going to be talking about death cost changes, economy changes, other stuff, and some teasers. So that's cool. And all this stuff's coming out on the 9th of January, by the way. So look forward to that very, very soon, just next week now. So that's awesome. So as we know, back in the day, gravestones, well, they didn't even used to be a thing, did they? It used to be if you died, your items dropped on the floor. And then if you didn't get back in time, they disappeared. So that sucks, obviously. So they made the gravestone system, which was a little bit better. I think it gave you like some extra time in which to claim your items back. However, that still wasn't good enough because like if you DC'd, then those things are gone. So what they did, obviously, they made the death cost system. And our good old friend Death, or Harold, as his actual name is. So what happens nowadays is that when you die, your items get placed in a box of sorts, and depending on how much stuff you had and how valuable that stuff was, you paid a fee based on that, and then you got your stuff back. It protected from DCs and stuff. It was fine, all good. However, that system was put into a place when times were old. And like some of the best gear in the game was maybe 300 million, like maximum. You very rarely saw things more than that. But nowadays in 2022, everything is rather expensive. So some of the like best in slot items back in the day, 300 mil. Best in slot items nowadays, max cash. So basically the grand exchange, the death cost tax band only went up to 10 mil. And then everything that was 10 mil or above gets taxed on the death reclaim at 0.5%. And basically, when you start to get into really expensive prices, like hundreds of millions or billions, this number, like this 0.5%, that's a bit rough. So, what are they doing instead? They are basically making it so every single item is a 0.1% reclaim. So that's a fair bit cheaper than that. So that's all good. It's also it's kind of cheaper than everything actually. So basically everything in death cost is going to be cheaper. Here are some examples. So let's say you had a 5 mil worth of stuff on you. That would well, this is like a specific item, but still, if you had a 5 mil item, currently it would cost you 70k to reclaim that item. But afterwards, after this update comes out, it's going to cost you 5k. And obviously most people probably have a bit higher than 5 mil worth of items on them. But let's say you got a 500 mil setup. You got some mid gear setup. You've got a cool weapon like a tier 90, and you die. Currently, you'd have to pay 2.5 mil for that item, and that seems like a bit of a scam. So that's being lowered by 80% to a measly 500k, much more affordable. And then, of course, if you have a very high tier setup, so we're looking at things that are 2 bill or greater, I suppose. If you're you've got a 2 bill setup, then currently you'd be paying 10 mil, like 10 mil for a 1 tick mistake. Because a lot of things nowadays, like the reasons you die, are because you get one shot. It's like you make a mistake for 1 tick and then say goodbye to your cash pouch. So like really high tier setups nowadays probably are like several times this, at least 2 times this in terms of the reclaim anyway, because a lot of deaths nowadays at the very top end end up being over 20 mil, and you can probably imagine if you especially if you're trying to learn top end stuff, like not when you're comfortable, but when you're learning, like trying new things, there'll be a lot of deaths as you try and be good. And those 10-20 mil reclaims, like they're a bit rough. So the good news is that 10 mil is going down to 2 mil, or if you had a 20 mil reclaim before, which I usually have around that in a lot of my hybrid presets, I'll be paying around 4 to 5 mil for my death cost now. So I am very happy about that, and you guys should be happy too, because everything across the board is like 80 to 90% reduction. So if you die, like you're probably going to be paying like 30k, 50k, like stuff like that sometimes. Because remember, you do still keep your like top 3 items for free, so that hasn't changed. So it's just like the rest of your gear that gets got. So yeah, my deaths are going to like 4 mil, 5 mil, 6 mil, something like that. Your guys will be somewhere that's about 80%, 90% cheaper than what you currently have. So that's pretty awesome. So that's really nice. But what happens to all that gold that was taken away by death costs? That is a good question. And another question is what adds gold to the game at the moment? Because currently death costs are the biggest takeaway. Did I go past it? Hang on. Oh, it must be down here. Sorry for the scrolling too much. Oh, here we go. Sorry. Yeah, this is where gold leaves the game. This one here. So death is the biggest gold sink right now. 62% almost of gold disappearing from the game is to death, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. It's rather ridiculous. And then there are some other interesting ones too, like people buy stuff. I guess this is like rune shops and stuff. People do their rune shop runs, like transferring bonds or like repairing items. Like a lot of stuff. A surprising amount for like boss instances and like max gold stuff as well. It's kind of interesting. And even like prif potions. A lot of people are paying that. It's kind of interesting. And it's random 3 bill from other whatever that is. I don't know, but either way, the fact of the matter is death costs make up a large proportion of the money that leaves the game. And if you're curious how much that is, basically 200 billion coins get added every day. But then a 112 billion get taken away. So overall, there are like 88 billion coins added to the game every day. So it is quite a lot, but over the entire game, it's it's like a good healthy amount, I suppose. So obviously, if death costs were taken away, this amount spent would like drop a lot. So that would essentially lead to rapid inflation. So how do you combat that? That's a good question. But first of all, let's look at things that add gold to the game. And if you guessed alchemy machines, then you would be absolutely right. Alchemy machines are the #1 thing that add to the game. People selling to general stores, whatever that is. I guess like rune arrows or something are added a lot as well. Just regular high alching as well. It's quite interesting. Then a bunch of monster drops like spiritual warriors, I imagine. Advanced coin magnet, I like that. It's a gold accumulator in our terms, so that's a funny name for it. And yeah, treasure hunter only 4% actually. I thought it would be a bit higher because do get quite a lot sometimes, but yeah, only a measly 8.5 bill every day. And yeah, as you can see, all sorts of interesting stats. So essentially, what they are going to do is they're adding a teeny tiny tax on the Grand Exchange. So basically, anytime you sell an item, you will kind of fork over a little bit of that item to the game, but really quite a trivial amount. So they've gone with 2%. So they kind of tested some values with their average, and it's like we could have gone 5%, but that kind of takes away too much money. could have gone 1%, doesn't take away quite enough, so they settled on 2%. That can be changed in the future if they want to, but essentially 2% of your sale is disappearing into thin air. So that's gonna kind of make up for the death cost thingamajigs that the lack of coins spent in death cost are going to be coming from the Grand Exchange nowadays. And a lot of people are like panicking about this, being like, oh, I don't PVM, why do I deserve to get punished? Why do I have to pick up the slack? But realistically, how many times have you guys gone to sell an item in the Grand Exchange, smash that minus 5% button a few times, and then press sell? Like, it's, you know, that's significantly more than a little 2%, and I guarantee after the update comes, you guys won't even notice 2%. Like, it is tiny, teeny tiny. I think for a max cash item, it's like 40 mil or something that you got to pay, and like 40 mil out of 2.1 bill, like, you're not going to notice that. And realistically, it'll be like a teeny tiny amount on items worth like 100k or whatever. Like, you will not notice. Like 2k out of your 100k, you're not going to notice that. Like, you would snuff at the ground. Wait, sniff? Turn your nose up at 2k on the floor. You wouldn't even bother to pick it up. But yeah, that's essentially what's happening. It's like a little teeny bit taken out, and that is going to balance up the death cost. So it's going to be interesting, because eventually as well, not yet, but later this year in the first half, apparently we are going to be able to trade over max cash on the GE, which should be interesting. So yeah, that's coming soon-ish, but it's not coming with this. It's coming a bit later. So yeah, let me know what you think about the whole thing. I think it'll be much better for the game overall. Partly because I really want to see people, get into PVM more, because it is the most fun part of the game, in my opinion, anyway, of course. But it's nice that some of these barriers of entry are being lowered quite significantly. So I'm a very big fan of that. And again, like the 2%, you're not going to notice. Like, it's going to be seamless. It's going to be great. So I hope you guys are looking forward to it as well. And there's one last thing that they're doing as well. They're changing the Ring of Death. So essentially, what's going to happen now is that if you wear your Ring of Death and you were to die, or currently anyway, if you die with the Ring of Death, it just teleports you to Prif or whatever and keeps you safe. But now what's going to happen is that effect is being removed, and what happens now is that when you die, you will be revived on the spot, and you'll take a damage over time effect until you next visit a bank. So what this means is that if you, let's say you're on like Telos phase 5 or something, and you get killed by the insta-kill, but you have your Ring of Death on, you will, just go back to what I feel like is probably full HP. Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, it is full HP. Like, go back to full HP, then you can kill the boss. Like Zamorak P7 as well is going to be a big one. Like, tanking the second big bomb on P7 could be incredibly useful to do with a Ring of Death. It's unclear whether it still takes Onyxes as charge. I'm assuming it does, but they didn't actually say. And yeah, I'm assuming it works if you're a hardcore Iron Man as well. So if you die with a Ring of Death, you'll be rezzed on the spot. And honestly, at that point, if you die and res on the spot, like, you could always just TP away. So if you guys are worried, be like, oh, I used to like paying 300k deaths with my Ring of Death, but now I can't. Like, this is essentially the same thing, right? But just better. Because if you take it so when you proc your Ring of Death, you just TP away if you want to. Well, you can finish the fight, but just, if you TP away, then you'll be paying nothing. Well, I guess, unless some Onyx charge, but still, it's essentially the same thing as now, but now it has, some extra uses where you can potentially do some interesting things with some boss mechanics. So I'm quite looking forward to this, especially testing out on the Zamorak P7 if I have a disaster phase. Should be interesting. And it should proc, before Signs of Life. So you could basically get killed with the Ring of Death, come back, and then you can get killed again. That will proc your Sign of Life, and you'll come back again. So you're essentially going to have 2 lives if you have the Ring of Death here, which could be really, really interesting. And could definitely help with things like really long boss fights, like Zamorak or Archglacier, for example. That gets quite long, could be a good one for there. But yeah, that is kind of about it. I'm very excited about the Ring of Death, very excited about Death Cost rework, and I'm sure the Grand Exchange tax will go greatly as well. And yeah, that's about it. So hope you guys are looking forward to it as well. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Hopefully this video was useful. And yeah, very soon look forward to having 80% reduction in death costs, minimum. 80 to 90, it's going to be great. So hopefully we'll see you guys on the battlefield of Gielinor, and yeah, take care, have a good one, and I'll see you again soon.